All right, everybody, we have done a little bit of cleaning, and it has been a few days of discoveries, if you will. And I have discovered a few things. Popped up a board for you guys here. As you remember, this is the observation tower. Obviously, you can observe the view. What it is basically made out of is sliding doors, 5 of them to be specific. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've got them open because it's quite hot up here. Letting the breeze off the river come in. But as we were spending time here with the kids for the introductory of our investment property, it started to rain. Couldn't have been any better timing. I didn't video it because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. And I started to do some research after the rain stopped. Took me a little while, but I have found basically, I think 95% of the water issues. There's a couple of issues down here that I think can be fixed pretty easily. You guys can see where the weeds are growing right there. That metal roof does not come all the way over, so the water hits on that flat spot right there and comes down. That's a small percentage of the water problem. Over there where the screws are nice and straight and then they start getting jagged, 2 of them are missing a board on the underneath side, the actual board that it's supposed to pinch the metal tight down to and create a seal with that rubber grommet on the back side of the screw. Not worried about that very much. However, up here at the observation tower, this structure is actually smaller than the actual castle. So I pulled a board up here to show you guys. You can see the previous owner tried. Got some spray foam insulation, you've got some mortar, but if you look down in there, throw that board to the side, and if you look down in there, you can actually see the end of the castle over there. So that's the outside of the castle, all the way over there. I'm gonna point my finger at it, all the way over there. So I've done some thinking. I've talked to DP. I've talked to another local contractor. They came out, gave me their opinions. My original idea was to put this board back down so that I don't fall through it. That's a pretty long fall. My original idea was to keep the appearance of this roof, but rid of the appearance in here and run some boards out over top. There is some type of a header up here. I'm not for sure what's there, but these are setting on and supported by in the proper areas. I pulled some boards off so I could show you guys. You can see there's a post in there right there, and it's covered, wrapped. I'm not going to say per my liking, but it's wrapped. You guys can see the framing there now. He did stuff insulation in there. He did try to box it all in, which is that's all fine and dandy, but I have a plan to, maybe it's a little easier to come back over here. Instead of having all these sliders, I'm going to build a knee wall up to whatever height. I gotta find the proper windows. When I say whatever height, let's just assume that this is a sitting area, and you've got this chair over here, and you sit down in this chair. At what height can you still see out of the windows? Hopefully that gives you guys a good kind of understanding of what my end game will be. Obviously that won't be in this video, but this video is to kind of show you what we've got so that I can allow you guys to see what we have when we're done with it. But if you can imagine a knee wall, this is all solid. When I say solid, it's framed the same way, but it's got paneling on it and insulation. And well, it actually looks like there's a panel over here that's basically off. Let's rip this off. There we go. Yeah, so this over here is framed in, and he's got tongue and groove pine, it looks like, on the outside. But you can see there, just one little push, and well, there's the outside. So it's got a 2x4 running into this post. I'm sure that carries on. Looks like he tried to do some type of a header, which realistically that's not needed. For the way this is built, it's supported by these posts, and then you just kind of build walls in between if you're wanting to make it solid. So 2x4 framed knee wall up to a certain level all the way around. Obviously redo all of that as well and change the way that looks. That is the actual ceiling and roof. The shingles attach right to that. And I'd really like to make this a conditioned space opposed to a space that, you know, you gotta think about this big tower. It's a cone. So any heat I put down there is naturally going to come all the way up to the top and right out of that. So I may insulate this, leave the outside appearance, change the inside appearance, and insulate all of that, and then refinish it. Not 100% certain what that plan is, but the exterior plan, after I build that knee wall, you guys can see there, you can start seeing the ground through these cracks, but right here you can't. So my original thought was to come out, take this off, come out of there, extend it, and then re-roof that top side to keep the inside look and appeal, insulate over top of it, and basically carry that roof, instead of stopping it here and letting all the water dump off and then hit that concrete or the top of the tower and running in, which obviously he hoped it'd run out. That didn't work. Extend that roof over all the way to those outside posts, and then any water that hits that would carry on down and out, because I'd put a gutter out there. However, I really don't like this deck up here. Yeah, it is kind of awesome to walk out here, but I don't necessarily, here I'll show you. I don't know if there's a really good way to make this to where it's 100% safe. However, inside here is 100% safe, and you get the same view. And if this is a conditioned space, it's not smoldering hot up here. It's a nice cool temperature or warm temperature in the winter, and you still get the view. So if I build that knee wall up, stop the knee wall, and then wrap this entire thing in windows, I can then bring my roof system from here to the actual floor joists that are actually supporting the deck now. Instead of them supporting a deck, they can support a roof system, and then I actually get two positives from that. If the roof is up here coming out and you still have your viewing area, if the wind blows out of the west and hits the side and comes in on top of this deck, I still have a water problem. So basically I'd have to seal that off and build a roof. Whereas if I build my knee wall and have a roof come down to the outside edges of this porch, which would then no longer be a porch, I've solved two problems at one time. I've gotten rid of the deck and the exterior access. It's all interior viewing, and I have created a watertight area for this actual ledge of the castle. So that's the thought process for now. However, I'm not starting that today. because I don't have all the components. I don't have any windows purchased yet. I've got to measure some things, but what I would like to do is slow down the amount of water that's coming off of this roof and just going straight down. So I brought some used guttering that I have, and yes, it's a temporary fix, people. This isn't permanent, because I'm sure I'm going to change all of these boards out at some point in time. But if I can go ahead and get my gutters cut, wrap this octagon all the way around, and the backside, which we'll go show you guys the backside. As you can see, I'm only stepping where there are floor joists, because this decking is not in the best of shape. You can see the water damage. Lots and lots and lots of water damage, because it just comes off here, hits the deck. You can see the water line, that black line right there is where the water hits, and then ends up splashing up on stuff that wasn't made to handle water. But if we come over here, this deck is really, 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 really bad. There's no extension over here. It's just the tongue and groove that comes off the top, and then the shingle, and that allows it to fall basically right there. And I'm here to tell you, I don't plan on stepping on that board ever, or that board, or that board. So this is all pretty bad. When I say pretty bad, it's really bad. And I'm actually not going to walk across it to show you the other side. We're going to go all the way back around, because mind you, I know I've shown you this height a couple of times, but we're 40 foot in the air. We're up here a pretty good ways. If we come over to this other side, you can see we've got similar issues. Our floor joists still come all the way out, and when I say floor joists, that's from the inside coming to the outside. So if we carefully come around here, I'm going to have to do this to put gutters on anyway. I just gotta be careful and find the bad spots, right? Hey, looks like we got a bee's nest in there too. Look at all those bees going in there. That's gonna make it fun. But you guys can see the water problem here. The boards are popping up, popping loose, laying funny, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, this is gonna be this is probably gonna be the most interesting part of the entire job. But let's see how this goes. Hopefully I can get at least some sections of gutter on to mitigate some of this water problem. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do on that was a bad board, do on the back side there, but that gives you guys an understanding. All right, guys, since it's always a shadow effect in my office, I'm at our kitchen table tonight. You can see the shadow come straight from the top, so hopefully we don't have to worry about much shadow. But you guys saw this firsthand today, and I pulled dimensions on the entire light tower at the castle. We do have an octagon. Each wall is 6 feet, and obviously there's a little bit in between, but from this intersection point to this intersection point is 6 feet, and all of them measure almost exactly 6 feet. Obviously not everything is perfect, but this is a bird's eye view of what we're working with. Here at 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, we have 5 sliding doors. You can see that listed here. Slider door, slider door, slider door. It's kind of hard to draw an octagon when you're looking at it straight on, especially whenever you're working in 2D and not 3D, and especially when I am the artist, because I'm not a good artist. However, I wanted you guys to understand that this is a solid wall, solid wall, solid wall, and the rest of these walls, if you will, are actually made out of 6-foot sliding doors like you would see on any conventional home. So each of these open, and they allow you to come out to this deck area here and here. And yes, I have this labeled as deck and floor joists, because the floor joists that are inside of the actual octagon do also come out of the rock structure, and they're actually the support for the actual deck as well. So in case you guys didn't understand the visual that I was trying to give you while actually on site, rain obviously is going to hit this roof system, and this roof system is going to send the rain over it like it is supposed to, And as you can imagine, since this is an octagon, this roof system runs all the way around, and the highest point is right here in the center. So once that water hits up here on the highest point, it is going to run out and down that roof system, and then basically come down and hit right here, just off the edge of the doors or the wall, whichever section you're in. And the biggest issue we have here is, you see I have labeled here light tower / rock and mortar. The light tower is actually bigger. It's over in this area here and this area here than the actual outer extremities of the tower itself. So when the water hits here and comes down this roof line, it goes into an area that the previous owner mortared in between all of the floor joists. Well, that mortar has cracked over time. My assumption, maybe I shouldn't say assumption, maybe my knowledge tells me that when that water hits this mortar is similar to concrete. It's going to take in some water. It's not going to eject all water or keep all water from going into it. So once that water comes down and saturates all of this all the way around the entire light tower, especially during the winter, and then it freezes, it's going to make all of that mortar crack and open up. So what we have now inside of the actual light tower / castle is these really cool internal water features that aren't supposed to be there. Obviously, it's not really cool. I'm being facetious, but it is what we have, and we do have a solution. I kind of walked you guys through that while we were out there, but if you can imagine this here, I guess not imagine, look at this here. It is 8 feet tall, basically. Not quite, but we're going to call it 8 feet for safe measure. And what sets that height is these sliders. So if you can imagine a slider door, I think they're actually 7'3", but let's just call it 8 foot for now. We've got 8 foot of height from the actual deck, which is here, to the top of the doors or the bottom of the roof. We've got to figure out a way to bring this down and send it out so that it doesn't get on top of this. We've got a couple of options. We can come in here under the floor joists and we can seal all this off all the way over to the actual building where it comes down, or we can extend this roof out and over. That was my first initial idea, but after I talked with Dennis Medcalf Construction, whom you guys have seen on the channel before, and also DP, who obviously you've seen on the channel and you know about his channel as well. After talking to both of those guys, I really don't like the idea of a human being able to come out on this porch. Just being bluntly honest with everybody. And I don't like that because it makes it harder for me to ensure safety. Obviously, some people like to take risks and some people don't. So I'm going to take that out of the equation. And I'm going to come over here, and I am not right-handed, but I was telling you guys about that knee wall. Let me switch hands. I'm going to build a knee wall at some height. I am not exactly sure of that height yet. I've got to find out what window widths and heights make sense, but let's just call this 4 feet. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to build a 4-foot knee wall around the entire thing. When I say the entire thing, I mean all 8 sides. Once I get that knee wall built underneath of this roof system, because it's being supported today by poles, basically in each of these intersection points. So I know I drew the knee wall down there, but let's do this a little bit differently. I'm going to come in here in between each of those posts, and I'm going to build a knee wall that basically ensures I have a 2x4 wall that allows me to gain that 4 foot of elevation you guys saw below. Get done with this knee wall here, and that will be a 2x4 knee wall. Now you ask, why am I calling that a knee wall? Well, most walls that you frame up are 8 foot tall or greater. What we're going to frame up is a 4 foot 2x4 wall, which is just to gain elevation on this outer edge of the building, so that we can then come in here off the top of this wall and we can put in windows instead of doors. And I'll probably offset those windows in just a little bit so that I can finish. Actually, we got to take that one out. Scratch that one. That's not going to be a window. We're going to keep that solid on the back side there. We'll put 5 windows in so that we still have the viewing area, but all the viewing will be from inside. You guys saw that stairwell coming up here. That'll all stay the same. It has a pole right there in the center. It's got a chandelier hanging off of it. Not too concerned about changing the inside of the room other than not allowing any access to the outside. This area down in here is getting a little overwhelming there, so let's redraw that a little bit here. So you got the top, you've got your current doors and walls, and you have the floor joists that go out a little bit further, and you've got your current post. So again, these are the doors here. What I plan to do is bring that knee wall in here, as just explained, stud that up just like you would any other wall, and then come in here and put windows in everywhere there are doors. Once I get this knee wall built around the entire thing, you all saw that just a second ago, I'm going to remove these posts, get rid of those, and I'm going to trim these floor joists off where they need to be trimmed. And I will come in here and I will put me a plate on the outside of the wall. I will bring a band board and attach it to the outside edge of all the floor joists. Again, everybody, let's not forget, this is an octagon, so you've got to imagine out here, out here, out here, out here, whoops, poked a hole in it, out here, out there, and one more out here, to where that deck makes an octagon outside of the actual octagon. By putting that band board on each of those ends, what that will allow me to do, let me draw you a short octagon here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So those floor joists run all kinds of different directions, but basically what's going to happen is I will run a board out from here, which will now be a roof truss, basically, which will make it all the way out to that skirt board, band board, whatever you want to call it, on the outside edge of that deck, so that I can come in here and frame all of this in. If you remember from this side of the page, there's that mortar line, and then the actual rock wall is out here, and this is where that water's getting in. On the back side it's a little different. It's got a square bump out on it, but again, I can continue this board here, run a longer board here, and tie this roof system in. I'm not too worried about that, and I can do something a little different back here if need be. But once I get all of these 8 sections extended all the way around the entire structure, that then ensures any rain that comes off of this roof, geez, I can't draw an arrow for nothing right now, comes down and it hits this roof, and then it comes over, and I'll have a gutter system here which will take all of that water from every bit of this and every bit of this, and it'll bring it all the way around to a gutter system, which then comes all the way down the rock structure, and I can put it into a pipe and send it down to the ditch. That's the ultimate goal here, so it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. we're going to remove the doors, frame in the knee wall, ensure that there's no access to the outside, cover up the porch so that person goes away, cover up the porch. We can use the porch as our support, and then we're mitigating all of the water issues in here, and we can come down here on this bottom side, which I think we have on this drawing as well. We can come down here on the bottom side of these joists and we can put some soffit into play so that we can also seal up these cavities and make it to where no critters, creatures, bugs, whatever can get up on the inside. All the moisture stays on the top side, goes into a gutter system, and runs it out and away. I may also put a gutter system here just to double my efforts of removing the water. So the main reason I like the thought of putting the gutter up here is when these windows are here and that water comes down 4 feet and hits this roof system, it's going to have a splatter effect and it's going to splatter everywhere. So let's assume I am not the greatest construction worker in the world, because I'm not, and I don't get all this sealed up perfectly. Well, then that water could have a chance to leach in there. So if I mitigate that by putting a gutter system on the top and a gutter system around the bottom, that's going to alleviate, I personally believe, probably 95, maybe even 98% of my water problems. I know I've got a few other small areas. If you did look and earlier in the video where this tower comes down and goes into the actual, what you saw in a previous video, the great room, this has a metal roof on it that is like a shed roof. That shed roof doesn't come all the way over, and I kind of showed you that in the video when I pointed down earlier. And then on the back side of this, there's another small roof over here that doesn't come all the way over to the rock structure. So all the water that comes off of this dumps into this flat spot, which comes down. And then where the great room, which is a stick framed straight wall across here, meets the rock wall, it wasn't sealed properly in this corner, so all that water comes down and then comes into the corner of the great room here. This I feel like's a pretty easy fix. This one here is a little bit more severe at the top in the actual light tower there. So we're gonna, basically how we're gonna break this thing down is, you've got the light tower with existing water issues. You have another floor just below that. Then you have the crow's nest floor just below that. And then you have the other floor here, and then the actual basement. I think that's right. You got basement, great room floor, crow's nest, yeah, and then the one room below the light tower. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors there. I think that's correct. There might be one too many there, but anyway, once we mitigate this water, we're going to start at the top, and then we're going to work our way down to this floor, work our way down to this floor, and then this floor kind of connects to the great room. So this will probably be one big ordeal here. And then the basement we will save for last, because the basement also comes over into this area, comes along here. Every bit of the water issues in this floor are created by this one. Every bit of the water issues in this floor are created by that one as well. And in the great room area, we've got one window over here that basically just needs to be resealed up on the outside, and those water issues will be taken care of. Every other water issue is all coming down from the top. So hopefully you guys understand all that. Kind of trying to lay out to you guys what we're seeing before we start tackling it, so you understand what it is we're tackling. And then as we're tackling it, obviously we'll video that process as well as much as I can. There's probably going to be some days I've got to get a certain amount of stuff done and I just don't have time to set the GoPro up, but we will keep you involved all through the entire process. And as always, hopefully you guys like the video. Like, comment, subscribe.